Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of PBnJ. I'm here with Brian, and we're gonna go over the already in season NBA news. See what's going on so far. Most teams have played anywhere from 10 to 15 games already, so we a little early to see who's gonna win it all, other than the Warriors. But you can kind of see where teams are headed. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. So what's up, Brian?
Hey, how's it going? Just came back from LA last weekend to do the Disney half marathon stuff, so that was pretty cool. I got to talk to Jesse a little bit. He came by, but he's not on tonight. He's busy doing other stuff, so hopefully we'll have him back next time. But yeah, it was fun. So I don't know if you know, but they're going to start construction on building the new Star Wars land stuff. So they're suspending those runs at the Anaheim Park at least for like the next 2 to 3 years. So
So you got in the last one for a while?
that's the last one for a while.
Oh, okay.
So
Did you see? I don't know if you saw, but did you see where they saw the Millennium Falcon on Google Maps?
I saw the headline, but I didn't look at it. Was it at Disneyland or what?
Yeah, they're at Disneyland, and they blocked it with like giant shipping crates, but Google Maps can just see right over it.
So it's already like in the park, like in the back area.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure if the picture was fake. If it was pretty funny. But yeah, I know. Yeah, I heard too that they're getting ready to get construction going and stuff. But yeah, that run, you had to go like early in the morning, right? You said like at 5 or something.
Yeah, because I think they opened the park early, like around 8. So they got to get everyone through the park so they can get it ready to open up to the regular crowd. So it was pretty early, but it was fine. It was fun.
That's when you got some cool swag, right? You put it up on the Instagram.
Yeah. I took a picture of the medals, so yeah, go ahead and check it out on Instagram.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just a little too early for me.
Yeah, and you got to do the course too. So yeah, it's a little you got to kind of have be mentally ready for it, especially if people are not runners. So, but a lot of people, it's more for fun. Like there's
Right.
not a lot of serious runners there, so it's just people who love like Disney stuff. And this one is the Avenger. The theme is like Avengers superheroes. So they have the people who work for the park dress up like the superheroes, and you can line up to take pictures of them, and it's like movies quality like costumes and stuff, and those guys are all in character.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been to. We were talking about this offline. I haven't been to Disneyland in 20 years at least, easy.
Yeah.
But you were telling me all the new stuff they put in there, all the the new rides and the new Star Wars and Marvel attractions, and I got to get over there pretty soon.
Yep.
Yeah, sounds like I'll be going soon, taking my niece and nephew. So it would be pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah. Maybe either before or after you go, we can talk about like some tips on how to survive at Disneyland, because it's kind of like Comic-Con. You got to plan for it.
Yeah, and I haven't been in a long time, so I'm gonna need help.
Yeah.
But yeah, so getting back to the NBA. We're big NBA fans. We've been watching for years, and we've been playing fantasy basketball for a long time. So whenever October rolls around, we know basketball season started, and we were trying to get a podcast up beforehand, but we weren't able to. But this is still pretty early in the season. Like I said, about most teams by now have played anywhere from 10 to 15 games, and a big before the season, right before the season started, a big trade went down. Kyrie Irving to the Boston Celtics for Isaiah Thomas, and was it just did they just get a what's that? And Jay Crowder, yeah. And then did they get a draft pick from Boston?
Yeah, they did, but I don't remember which one though.
I don't think it's the high one. I don't think it's the number one.
I think it's like, yeah, I have to check, but I think it's like second round or something. They still have so many picks from Brooklyn, so
Right. Yeah, when they
one of those picks that they gave them.
yeah when they fleeced Brooklyn. Um, they ended up having I think they had the number 3 pick this year, and they took Jason Tatum, and that was a good pick because I mean not only is he good, but during the first game of the year, within like 5 minutes, Gordon Hayward went down, broke his ankle nasty, and he's out for the year. And this guy, Jason Tatum, has been able to really just step right in and pick up where Gordon left off. He's not as good as Gordon Hayward, but he's able to hold his own. And even without Gordon Hayward, the Celtics are on a 13-game win streak right now, 13-2, first place in the East. What do you think, Brian? You think they're good enough to make it to the finals and get past LeBron?
Still hard to tell. Like from the past 3-4 years, like LeBron just cruises until February or March, right? So, and they're in the East, so they don't have to try as hard. I mean, looking at the standings now, they're like outside of the bubble, but I think they'll turn it around. They'll get better, and they should. I still see them as the top team coming out of the East, but yeah, Boston is a big threat. And the other thing with Cleveland is we haven't seen Isaiah Thomas yet, so
Right.
we don't know how that's gonna work. I mean, it might work out great, or it could turn out even worse, right? So yeah, right now, like with Dwayne Wade, well, he's coming off the bench now, right? And then there's like Derrick Rose and J.R. Smith, like those guys are just like old guys, playing point guard. So I don't know. We really have to see when Isaiah Thomas comes back to see if they're going to be good or not. So
Yeah, I think he actually works well. Well, in theory, he works well with that team because he's a point guard, but he's not really a true point guard. He's more of a scorer.
yeah,
And LeBron really runs the point there. And I think with LeBron and Kyrie, there was kind of a push and pull type thing where Kyrie wanted to be the point guard, like a true point guard, but with LeBron there, he couldn't. He was more of a scorer, which is one of the big reasons why he pushed for a trade out of there. And he even said recently, I think it was a week ago in an interview, that he's always wanted to be a point guard, but he wasn't able to. But now that he's actually running a team, running a system for a coach that actually has a system, whereas in Cleveland it's Tyronn Lue is more like just give the ball to LeBron, and everything was one-on-one isolation. But they had enough talent between LeBron and Kyrie, Kevin Love, and those guys that it worked. So Kyrie now is more happy running a system, running a team, and they look great so far. So Isaiah Thomas, I think, can come in, and with LeBron running the show, he can just come in and score, just do what he does best, and that's score the ball. And they really need that right now because, like you said, Dwayne Wade is just old. He can only give so many minutes a night, and he's just not explosive like he was. Rose is there. He's missed half the year due to injuries again. That dude is he just can't stay healthy. They played Jose Calderon for a little bit, and he just looks like he's done. So they really need that guy. They need another scorer. So they need Isaiah Thomas. And then LeBron, I don't know if you saw the other day, he was trying to keep the pressure off Isaiah Thomas, saying like one guy isn't going to fix everything.
right.
But I think that was just more of him trying to keep the pressure off. But I think it does all right on Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
So the other team that's surprising in the East is the Pistons. They're sitting at number 2, 10-3. They're really good. What do you think about the Pistons? Do you think they're for real?
I've watched a few of their games because they moved into a new stadium. They got out of the Palace, so I just wanted to check it out. Especially their home opener. They have a bunch of like local Detroit celebrities there. But yeah, the game. I don't know. They won the game, but I didn't see anything that stood out. Like they just played well enough to win the games. So I think it's still too early for me to tell if they're real or not.
Yeah, we'll just go down the standings real quick. So we have the Celtics, which we before the season we predicted would be a good team. Maybe not the top team, but we predicted they would be pretty good. Pistons are sitting at 2, and then we have the Wizards and Raptors at 3 and 4, which we predicted would be in that area.
Yeah.
And then surprisingly, or not surprising, but a pleasant surprising team is the Orlando Magic at number 5. Those guys are just. I don't know if you watched them yet. Have you seen them play yet?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they're real up. They're just like run up and down, like they're pushing the pace, and it's really fitting those guys. So Aaron Gordon's having a great year. Tobias Harris is having a great year. Nikola Vucevic, who was kind of like the forgotten guy. His numbers are way up across the board and seems to be working for them. Then we have the Knicks, who are sitting there at 7 and 6. I thought they were going to be crap, but so far they're doing all right, and I think a lot of that has to do with Porzingis. Porzingis is just playing out of his mind right now. And then the 76ers, who we predicted would be in the playoff hunt this year. Ben Simmons is a beast. Joel Embiid's a monster, and that team is coming around. And then we have Milwaukee sitting at 8th, and we had them up there as well. And we didn't talk about the Bucks. They had a trade recently. Eric Bledsoe.
Right.
Yeah, for Greg Monroe, and I like that move. I like that move from Milwaukee. They weren't using Monroe, and they got another young athletic guy who can score and can fit with that team. So I think that's a good move for Milwaukee.
Yeah. Well, so watching Bledsoe since he was with the Clippers, he was one of those guys that was always hurt.
Yeah, he was always hurt.
Not long term, but he would miss like 10 to 15 games a season. So I think he's hurt right now, right? He's not playing.
I'm not sure actually. I know he played the other day, but he might have gotten hurt since then.
Yeah, but yeah, if he's healthy, like they have a pretty good point guard that they don't have, and I think their style right now is also like get a bunch of tall dudes that can run, shoot the three, and having someone like Bledsoe kind of balance that out to have a point guard every once in a while.
Right. Because right now, for the first part of the season, it was Greek Freak doing everything.
Yeah.
And he's having an MVP type season so far, but they needed a bit of help. They needed help. They were waiting on Jabari Parker, but it doesn't look like he's going to be back until January, February. So getting another weapon in there like Bledsoe this early, I think is good for them. See, we talked about Cleveland, and then these next few teams: the Heat, Pacers, Hornets, and Nets. I think we got those right. They're going to be sitting around trying to get into that 7-8 spot, and the East is so bad that any of those teams can do it. Like right now, they're sitting at 6 and 7 for the Heat, 6 and 8 for the Pacers, 5 and 7 for the Hornets. But any of those teams can just get in there. The Nets are 5 and 9. I don't know if they will. And then the two bottom feeder teams, my Bulls and the Hawks. And we were right about these teams. These teams are in full rebuild mode right now.
Are you still watching the Bulls, or you kind of gave up watching them?
I do still watch them, just not every game like I used to.
Yeah.
Like the other day when they were gonna play the Spurs, I was like, nah, no thanks. And sure enough, it's like a 30-point blowout. And they play the Raptors and got blown out. They play the Wizards and got blown out. Sometimes they'll put up a good fight, but for the most part, they're gonna lose. The only good thing, unexpectedly good thing with them is our rookie Lauri Markkanen, power forward. He was kind of like drafted to be like he was a lottery pick, so he was legit. He was a legit player, and he's 7 foot tall. And the big joke was that he was all the next Dirk and stuff. But right before the season started, I don't think we talk about this on the podcast either. Nikola Mirotic and Bobby Portis got in a fight, and Bobby Portis broke Mirotic's orbital bone and I think his nose. So
concussion.
And a concussion. So they figured he would be out 4 to 6 weeks. Bobby Portis got suspended for their first eight games of the year. So Lauri Markkanen ended up being thrust into the starting role, and that guy's thrived since then. He's a double-double machine. He drained threes like crazy. He actually set a record for the most made 3-point shots to start a career. And he has no fear. Watching him play, he's like he just looks like a veteran out there. And he was the very first game of the year. He was guarding LeBron 1-on-1. I mean, LeBron chewed him up, but there was no fear there. And even LeBron acknowledged it afterwards that he was impressed by the rookie's confidence. And and I think that's the best thing about him is that he plays he just goes and shoots the ball, lights out. So I think the Bulls are happy with that pick, and it's kind of like an added bonus in this year. Like, we knew we were going to be bad. Everyone knew we were going to be bad, but then it's like, oh, wait a minute. We got a potential rookie of the year candidate. He's not going to win. Ben Simmons is going to win hands down, but this guy will be in the conversation. So a legit building block. And we're waiting on Zach LaVine to get back. He was part of that trade for Jimmy Butler. I think they said mid-December. Hopefully he can get in there. Chris Dunn, who was part of that deal, the point guard, right before the season started in practice, dislocated his finger. I remember the season hadn't even started yet, and I was like, son of a bitch. Like, we have dudes, teammates knocking each other out. Our point guard dislocates his finger in practice and not even in a game. I was already like, this is going to be bad. And it's bad. 2 wins. They're sitting at 2-9 right now, but at least with Markkanen in there, it's something to watch. And once LaVine and Dunn get in there, at least they'll be entertaining. I don't think we'll win very many games. Our leading scorer right now is Robin Lopez.
Well, yeah.
Who I think we're just showcasing him to trade at the deadline. I like Lopez. He's a good player. He's a legit center. He's humongous. 7 feet, 250, something like that. Just a big dude. And but there's no reason to have him on the team. He's an older guy. He's a vet. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna ship him out at the deadline. And he even acknowledged it. So a reporter asked him about it, and he just said, that's out of his control. He's just gonna play, but most likely he'll get traded. Maybe we'll get some more picks in there, but this year is all about just tanking and getting that top pick next year. Same with the Hawks. I mean, they blew their team up, and I don't even know who's on their team. Can you name their starting lineup?
No. But they're like blowing up the team with like no direction. They just blew up the team.
Yeah, they did.
There's no like upward trend, or you don't see anything like any moves to build for the future.
Yeah, they just got rid of everything. They traded away, or not? They didn't trade him away, but they let Millsap walk. Dwight Howard traded him to Charlotte. During the season last year, they traded Kyle Korver. They're just bottoming out. So I pulled up their starting lineup right now. So their starting lineup is Dennis Schrader, Kent Bazemore, Tayron Prince, Dwayne Dedman, and Ersan Ilyasova.
And Marco Bellinelli off the bench.
Off
right?
the bench, yeah. So it's a weird combination of young guys like Schrader and Dedman, and then veterans like Ilyasova, Bellinelli, Miles Plumlee. Like guys who've been around, but they're just not good.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's just, like you said, there's no direction here. Like, I don't really know what they're trying to do. So those are the 2 bottom feeders in the East, the Bulls and Hawks. What do you think? Looking at this, who do you think's gonna make the playoffs? Which are going to be the top 8 teams?
So I think the top 4 will stay the same. Like, they're pretty much in. But I think Detroit will move down a little bit. So I don't know what the order is going to be. But the top 4 teams will make it into the playoff. Cleveland will get in somehow. So that's 5 spots. I think Milwaukee will get in. So that's 6. So for the last 2, I'm guessing Orlando and it's the last one's gonna be either the Sixers or the Knicks. I mean, it could be the Heat too, but I don't see it that exciting if they get in.
Right, and the Heat is kind of like they don't seem to have the talent that New York and the Sixers do.
Yeah.
You know, like there's guys that get excited. Like the Knicks have Kristaps Porzingis, Frank Tilikamiya, I don't know how to say it. And then the Sixers have a bunch of studs. They have Embiid, Dario Saric, Ben Simmons, who like I said is probably going to win Rookie of the Year. They brought in JJ Redick, who fits in perfectly with those guys. And those guys are all young and they're just getting better. Whereas with the Heat, I mean, look these guys up.
Dragic, right?
Yeah, there's Goran Dragic, Hassan Whiteside, who are good players. Goran Dragic is not going to get any better. I think he's hit his peak, which is good. He's a good player. So is Hassan Whiteside. But then you look, right, you have Josh Richardson, Dion Waiters, Kelly Olynyk, James Johnson, Udonis Haslem, Justice Winslow. So guys who are good players, but no one should really be like, oh, that guy's going to be amazing. Like Josh Richardson right now is kind of considered the future, but he's not as exciting a prospect as like a Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown from Boston. So yeah, like you said, them getting into the playoffs is not that exciting. Yeah, they're like, yeah, okay, they're a solid team, but you know, I really don't, do you want to watch the Miami Heat? Not really.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, so I think the top 8, they all get in, except but Cleveland gets in, and my guess is either Knicks or Sixers will take the 8th spot.
Yeah, so one of those teams is going to bounce out of there.
Yeah.
I'll guess the Knicks will get bounced out. I think the Sixers are just going to, as the season goes on, they're going to get better and better.
Right.
And whereas the Knicks, I mean, that would be a good season for the Knicks to just miss the playoffs. Like everyone expected them to be in the tank. So if they were to make like 9th seed, that's pretty good.
That's better than last year, right? Last year they won like 20 something games.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah, they had no chance of the playoffs last year. This year, I pulled up their depth chart, and they have some like Philadelphia. They have young, exciting players: Porzingis, Tim Hardaway Jr., Frank Tilikina, Enes Kanter. He's coming in and starting, and he's doing great.
Mm-hmm.
They acknowledge. Well, they once Melo left, they knew, okay, we got to go young, so they pushed the veterans down the depth chart a little bit. Michael Beasley's not a starter. They pushed Joakim Noah. Joakim Noah was serving a suspension, but once he comes back, no one really expects him to come in and start. They have guys like Kyle Quinn and Hernan Gomez over him, which is, I think, the right thing to do. You want to get those young guys in there.
Right.
So, I mean, I see them missing the playoffs, but that's a good year. That's way better than anyone expected them to do. So, I think they'll take that. I think the Knicks will take that. If they were fighting for the A seed right before the season ended, and just missed the playoffs, I think they'll be happy with their season. Yeah.
So once again, this is like the Carmelo effect, right? When he leaves, the team gets better.
The team gets better. Yeah. What is that? 3 for 3?
Yeah. New York is now. Yeah.
Yeah. New York. Before that was the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or 2 for 2. 2 for 2. But yeah. So that's not. I mean, I agree with that. The Pacers, once they lost Paul George, I think everyone kind of knew, like, okay, well, this is going to be their year. Yeah. The Hornets always seem to be right there at the same spot. They're always around like 9 or 10. They never can. It doesn't seem like they can quite break through. Maybe when Nicholas Batum comes back, maybe that'll help. But I don't know. I don't know if that's good enough to make the playoffs. You have Dwight Howard on your fantasy team, right? He's doing pretty good.
He gets a lot of rebounds, but not so many points. He'll get like 10 points or something a game. For someone like him, he should be a lot better than that. And I used to have Kaminsky on my team, but I had to drop him because he's been sucking too. I watched a couple of their games, and yeah, they're not they're not exciting to watch
No,
either. So
they have my boy Kemba Walker, but
yeah,
it's not enough. So they'll miss again. The Nets are young; they're rebuilding, so they'll miss again. And when they traded away Brook Lopez for D'Angelo Russell, it's another rebuilding team, so they'll miss again. So, and we already covered the Bulls and the Hawks. So I like your top 8. It's pretty straightforward in the East. We pretty much know who the top teams are going to be. The playoff teams, I mean. We're able to go to the Eastern Conference pretty easily about the playoff teams and stuff. But this is where it's going to get harder. We go into the Western Conference. Top team is Golden State 11-3, but Houston's right there 11-4. And what's most impressive about that is Chris Paul. I think he only played the first game.
Yep.
Like maybe about 1 or 2 at the max, and got hurt, and he's been out since then. And they've been able to just keep winning. I think a lot of that is has to do with obviously James Harden. That guy's just playing off his mind right now. In our fantasy league, he was drafted number 1, and I was kind of like, what? I mean, he's really good, but number 1, and man, that was the right choice. He's still the number 1 guy. He's just throwing up historic numbers and keeping them in it. Waiting for Chris Paul, and I don't even know when. Have you heard anything about when Chris Paul is supposed to come back?
No, I haven't.
I haven't heard anything. They just keep saying like he'll be back when he's ready. Whenever he's ready, that's all they keep saying.
I don't think there's a rush for him to come back because they play much better without him.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before. Like, it just seems like an awkward fit, right?
Right.
And he was just gonna be out there as a spot up shooter, and we were just kind of like, I don't know if that's not his game. His game is to pound the ball and stuff. And you were listening. Was it Charles Barkley who was critical of the Chris Paul going there? Was it him or someone else?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different people who say the same thing. Like Harden needs the ball, he needs the ball, but he's better with the ball. He can get points out of it. Chris Paul can't. So of the two, like Harden's a better player who should get the ball, right? Like pretty much the NBA nowadays, you can't that true point guard thing. It's kind of dead, right? Like where they set up plays and everything. Like nowadays, it's more you spread the floor and you run fast break. Run as fast as you can.
Shoot the three.
Shoot the three. There's no more like have a point guard set up a play and then throw a ball into have a guy post up and that kind of style is like dead for right now. So I don't having Chris Paul on the floor. I think it hurts them. And it showed in the first game too. When they played the Warriors, he was he got hurt on the first game. He started limping around and stuff, so he sat out the entire fourth quarter, and they were able to come back and beat the Warriors that game. And one of the things was because he was not, Chris Paul was not on the floor. So I don't know what they're gonna do, right? I mean, because the original plan was to have Carmelo go there,
right?
And if he were there, then Chris Paul would fit better there, but he didn't show up. So like the team still heavily relies on Harden. So and then so it's just weird to have Paul there now.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, if Carmelo went there, then they would be able to stagger those 3 guys, right? Harden could take a seat, Paul could run the point, feed it to Melo, and then vice versa when Paul sits down, and Harden would come in and he could feed it to Melo, but he didn't show up, so now it's back to the run and gun style, which fits perfectly for James, not really for Chris.
Right. So what do you think? If he comes back and they start losing games and it doesn't work, do you think they're going to try to move Chris Paul in the middle of the season, or it's too early for them to do that?
I was just thinking that right now in my head, I was like, man, what if it's a total flop? Maybe. I think. Well, no, because he signed as a free. No, he was traded. I think they have to wait a few months. I think when you trade a guy, you have to wait before you trade him again. I could be wrong about that. But I would see why not. Let's say he comes back and just doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, there you can see that in the record right now is 11-4. You know, and if D'Antoni's like, this is just not going to work, and I can't get it to work, there are plenty of teams who could go after Chris Paul. There won't be, there's not a lack of suitors out there. The Spurs wanted him before the season started. Maybe they jump in there and try to get a deal done, or whatever other team is hurting for a point. I'm sure they can get something done. So I would say, why not? Why, if they just go, this experiment didn't work. Who wants Chris Paul? Plenty of teams would jump at it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the league right now. Spurs can go for him. The Timberwolves can probably go for him, right? I mean, their point guard is Jeff Teague, but he's okay. If you put Chris Paul on that team, you have a real point guard feeding everybody, and then he'll help defensively. That's still their biggest weakness. So he's always a first, second team, all defensive team. So there's teams out there that can get in there.
So I guess if we're gonna switch topic to the Timberwolves, I'm surprised that Tibbs' team would be bad on defense.
Yeah. And there's too much talent on that team for them to be so bad. They thought, not them, but everyone thought by them getting Jimmy that would just help lock down the defense, but it hasn't worked. They're still really bad. I'm looking right now. They average 108 points a game, and their opponents average 110. I mean, they're still winning. They're 8-5. But it's just weird. It's weird. And being a Bulls fan, I watched him coach our team, and I watched that defense for a few years, and man, it was lockdown. We had guys who were known for being defensive liabilities, guys like Kyle Korver and Boozer, but we were always number 1, number 2 every year in defense. So I don't know what's going on over in Minnesota. Maybe because they're just so young.
Yeah. I
mean, that's a really young team. Karl Anthony Towns is super young. Wiggins is super young. So maybe it's just they just need some time. But fun team to watch though.
Yeah.
They're man. Every time I go to the gym, they're on TV. I just sit there on a treadmill. Like, man, I gotta watch these guys. So before the season, we were talking about the rankings and stuff. Golden State. We had Golden State number 1. You had Oklahoma City at number 2, but right now they're sitting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th. What do you think's going on with them?
Melo.
This is your favorite guy?
Yeah.
So is it just their style is just not fitting, it's not meshing right now?
Yeah, I think so. They're just, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen them, watch them close enough to see how the three of them fit. Paul George, Melo, and Westbrook. But yeah, I don't know. They should be playing better than this. I mean, it's still really early in the season, so maybe it just takes some time for them to mesh together, and maybe later in the season they'll start to click.
Yeah, I noticed that they were losing a lot of games, and then they had a team meeting, and I don't know if you noticed, but the last 2 games, Paul George has gone crazy. And I think what a lot of it was at the beginning of the year, he was kind of taking a step back. Because Paul George has always been a great player, but he was never like what's the word? He never like demanded the ball.
Right.
He always fit the system. He ran the offense, and he would take over when he needed to because he's so good. But he never he doesn't demand the ball. He doesn't pout when he was not the leading scorer of the team. He's super unselfish. And I'm wondering if in that meeting they told him you need to take over, because in this stage of his career he's better than Melo. He's light years ahead better than Melo.
Right.
And Melo was kind of like being the number 2 after Westbrook, and you look back and see, in their last game against Dallas, he had 37 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and he hit 7 threes. And that was a win. And then their game before that, let's see. Let me open that up. They beat the Clippers. And his numbers there were 42 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 threes. And Melo's numbers have kind of, well, he didn't play the last game at all, which they really didn't need him. Dallas is really bad.
Yeah.
But the other game, he only scored 14 with 6 rebounds. So I wonder if in that team meeting, it was like, hey, Paul, we need you to be the number 2. We need you to take over, more than he had been doing. And Paul George is such a team player that he's probably like, okay, I'll do it. And since then, they knocked off 2 wins in a row. So I think that's the better way to go. I mean, he's way better than Carmelo, even especially defensively.
Yeah. I mean, Carmelo's been on the declines for 2 or 3 years now. So, but I think mentally he's still playing as if he's still the star player. So yeah, like you said, if they had the team meeting, if they asked him to step down, then I think that helps the team overall.
I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking when he first went there. I thought, okay, Russell's gonna run the show, Paul George be the 2, and then Melo can score, can be that third scorer when they need him to be. But his usage rate was still really high. He was still shooting a lot, still scoring a lot, and they were losing. So maybe this will turn them around. They're 6-7 right now, sitting at 9. So it's not like they're way behind. They're still right there.
Right.
So right now we have Golden State, Houston, San Antonio, Minnesota, which we knew they would make it. The Pelicans and the Nuggets and the Grizzlies and Portland are right there fighting for that second half. And then Oklahoma will probably jump in there and knock someone out. And we were talking about this before the season started. A really good team in the West is going to miss the playoffs. That's just maybe even 2 teams are going to miss that are really good. So looking right now, I think Memphis is kind of overachieving right now. I think they'll end up taking a step back. And then probably, let's see. Also, I think Memphis will miss, and then I could probably see it staying like that, unless the Clippers get their stuff together and go on a run. But they've lost 6 straight. They started the season hot, but was there 4 in a row they won?
Yeah.
And they've lost 6, and I think it was just they're I wouldn't even say top heavy, because it's Blake is their best player, and I don't know if he's your best guy. I don't know how far you can go.
Yeah. So for me, I agree with you. I think Memphis is overachieving. So Oklahoma City should move into the top 8, and maybe Denver would drop out, and the Clippers would sneak in.
Yeah.
So those are only teams I see getting in. I don't see any, the bottom feeders like the Lakers and Suns and Kings and Mavs and the Jazz. I don't see them stealing an 8th spot or anything.
No, those teams are just they're just not good. The Lakers are in full rebuild, which they should have done a couple years ago. They had to wait on Kobe. There was no way Kobe was going to be a part of a rebuild, and they kept trying to stay relevant with, they signed Luol Deng and Timofey Mozgov to big deals, and they were trying to stay in there, but probably should have started the rebuild about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
This year, they went for it. They were able to trade away Mozgov's contract. They traded away D'Angelo Russell, but I don't think that's such a huge loss. Magic wasn't a fan. Um, I never really liked him. He kind of seemed like a combo guard who can score the ball, but couldn't run the team. Even now, in Brooklyn, he's putting up great numbers because he's just chucking. So a player like that really can't. You don't want to build if you're rebuilding a franchise, he's not a guy to rebuild around. So they shipped him out. They got rid of Mozgov's contract, which is a really smart thing to do. Drafted Lonzo Ball, which if Jesse was here, I'm sure he'd be dropping curse words on that guy.
No, I'm surprised he hasn't become a fan yet.
Yeah. So their starting lineup right now is Lonzo Ball, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Julius Randle. Actually, no, Larry Nance was starting, right?
Yeah, but he's hurt.
He's hurt right now. Okay. Brook Lopez at center, which they got in the DeAndre Russell trade, and then Ingram at the small forward. And that's a young team, other than Brook, and I guess Caldwell Pope is like his 6th year or something like that, but he's still kind of young. And they're running those dudes. They're playing them heavy minutes, Lonzo and Ingram. And then Larry Nance, who was a 2nd-round pick, I think, last year, they really like, and he's been starting. Julius Randle kind of, I don't know, he kind of seems like he is a disappointment, right? He was like the number 2 pick.
Yeah,
or number 3.
He got hurt the first year.
Yeah, broke his leg. But if you're a number 2, number 3 pick, you should be a star. You should be a starter at least, and he's not. He has a weird throwback body, I guess is what, like, when he came out of college, they were comparing him to Zach Randolph.
Okay.
Big and strong, not very athletic, kind of slow.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. Like you were saying earlier, that type of offensive player doesn't really fit anymore. Where the point guard brings up the floor, throws it down low to that guy and lets him work. That doesn't work. Whereas Larry Nance is more of a stretch 4. He can shoot, he can run, and that actually fits more the modern NBA. So I wouldn't be surprised if they ship out Randall, or try to ship him out by the deadline.
Yeah. So what do you think about Lonzo Ball so far? Their second pick, right? Or was it 3rd pick?
Second pick.
Second pick, yeah.
So far he's been hit and miss. He's had some good games, right? He's already had a triple-double. Youngest player ever to get a triple-double. But the holes that they pointed out coming out of UCLA are there. He can't shoot. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the most athletic guy. But he has great size. He's like 6'5", 6'6", something like that. Mm-hmm. And he is a pass-first guy. He does want to pass the ball. So he's been kind of hit and miss. He's had some good games. He's had some really bad games. I don't know if it was the last game or the game before where he shot. His shot selection was really bad, and Charles Barkley was making fun of him. Let's see, what game was that? It might have been against the Pelicans. I don't remember, but yeah, up and down. Am I impressed with him? No.
Yeah, there's like other rookies that are playing much better.
Yeah, I mean we're talking
here and Tatum and
Jason Tatum, Lauri Markkanen. I guess Ben Simmons technically isn't a rookie. He didn't play last year, but But what Ben Simmons is doing now is kind of what they were the Lakers wanted to see from Lonzo. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, he's not as big as Simmons. Simmons is like 6'8", 6'9", but they wanted him running the floor, throwing alley-oops, dunking on a fast break, setting his teammates up, getting triple-double, getting close to triple-doubles every game, and really being a spark to the whole offense like Ben Simmons is, and he's not. He's okay. Will he develop into that? Maybe. I mean, it's only his rookie year.
Yeah.
But he's not really. He hasn't really been super, super impressive.
Yeah, and the other rookie like Kuzma, he's been playing better, right?
Yeah, Kuzma's actually he's a second round pick, and he was starting to get a lot of minutes in there
Yeah,
at the expense of Julius Randle too. So I think it did he get hurt
I don't know.
or was it just Nance?
I know Lance is hurt. I don't know about Kuzma.
But yeah, the Lakers they're excited about Kuzma. They like him a lot. Um, so they're sitting at 6-8. That's what we expected them. They're young, super young. They're going to be all about playing the young guys. They have Brook Lopez. I'm sure they'll keep Brook Lopez the rest of the year. I don't think they'll trade him away. Only because they would get a huge hole. They would have a huge hole at the center position. And he's a good guy to have in the locker room. Good mentor. So they're not in tanking mode like the Bulls. The Bulls are in tanking. They'll trade Robin, but the Lakers are in the rebuild, so they'll keep him around. So they're one of the teams, like Brian said, that has no shot. Them, the Suns, the Kings, and the Mavericks they're just not good teams. They'll bottom out. The Dallas Mavericks are really bad.
I haven't seen him play at all this year. So is Dirk still even playing, or he's just on the roster?
No, he's starting. He's the starter.
Okay.
Yep. It's so the starting five is Dennis Smith Jr. He's one of those rookies we're talking about who's better than Lonzo. Wesley Matthews, who's been around forever. Dirk, Nerlens Noel, who actually just got benched the other day. He lost his starting job. And Harrison Barnes, that's small forward.
Yeah. Is Parsons still there, or he's somewhere else now?
Chandler?
Chandler, yeah.
He's in Memphis.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think he's played for them yet. That guy, man, talk about a waste. Dallas signed him to a huge deal, and he never barely played for him. And then I don't know if he signed with Memphis or they shipped him out to Memphis, but he hasn't even played for them yet. Yeah, they were booing him. His home team was booing him the other day. I don't know if you saw that. They were chanting like "waste of money" or something.
No.
Yeah. And he was just sitting there all pissed. I think he might have threw the bird at some people.
Well, the Rockets knew what they were doing when they got rid of him.
Yeah. I remember. I was like, what are you doing? Why don't you keep Chandler? And they were like, nah, it's cool, and ended up working out. So yeah, the Mavericks they're just a bad team. I don't. It's not even a rebuilding year. Like they're really trying. But they only got 2 games, and they're going to finish the season really low. I think they'll have a serious shot at the number 1 pick, which sucks for Nowitzki because he doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to stay there. But I think he wants to play 2 more years, and those are going to be really bad years. The other team is Sacramento. George Hill, Buddy Hield, Zach Randolph, Willie Cauley-Stein, and Justin Jackson are the starting 5. But we kind of figured they would go on a rebuild when they traded DeMarcus Cousins last year. Yeah. Once they moved him, it was like, okay, well, they got a high pick. They got De'Aaron Fox, who's actually I don't think he's starting, but he's come on big a couple games. He had a game winner the other day, so. I think if he's not starting yet, he will be by the end of the year. Then Buddy Hield I think, is a second-year guy they really like. Willie Cauley-Stein was kind of stuck behind DeMarcus Cousins, and they're going to give him the season to see what he can do.
Yeah, he's been sucking so far. Like fantasy-wise. Yeah, he's not even getting double-doubles. He'll get like 6 and 7 or something.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like a defensive specialist, but yeah. So the Kings they're blowing it up too. So they're gonna be down there with the Mavericks, fighting for a top pick. And then the Utah, I think we haven't talked about them really. They kind of remind me of the Pacers. They're like the Pacers of the West, right?
Right.
Let's see. Starting lineup is Ricky Rubio, who they got in the trade, or did they trade for Rubio? They did trade for Rubio, right?
I'm not sure. I thought they just signed him.
I don't remember, but Ricky Rubio, Rodney Hood, Derek Favors, Rudy Gobert, and Joe Ingles. So you look at it and you're like, yeah, it's decent. Rudy Gobert is one of the top centers. Rubio has been a solid point guard. Rodney Hood's an up and coming guy. Derek Favors has been a solid power forward throughout his career, but no one really to jump out at you.
Right.
Joe Johnson, I can't believe he's still in the league, but he's on the team. Alec Burks has been kind of a disappointment. Jonas Jerebko, that's another guy who's just been around. He's been a solid guy. So solid, it's like, is the team's okay? You look at it, you go, yeah, it's not a bad team. They'll win games. But talent wise, they can't match up with, even teams like Denver or the Pelicans. They're just not as talented as them, let alone the top guys, the Rockets and the Warriors. So they'll probably hang around the 8th and 9th spot and just miss the playoffs, or the maybe even like the 10th spot, depending on if like Memphis drops or Denver drops. The Jazz are just like a boring team. They're always such a boring team.
Yeah. even last year, it wasn't that exciting to watch.
No. I mean, they haven't been really exciting since Stockton and Malone.
Right.
They're just whatever. They're just kind of there. They're just a team that's... I mean, well, they had that one run, remember, with Darren Williams and Boozer? Mm-hmm. Like, they made the playoffs a few times, and they were a solid team, but that's about it. Ever since those guys left, they're just, they're okay. And the Nuggets, I'm looking at the Nuggets right now. Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Paul Millsap, Nikola Jokic, and Wilson Chandler are the starting five. And this is another young team, too. Jamal Murray, I think he's his second year. It's only like Gary Harris's third, and like second or third for Jokic, but they're up and comers. So maybe not this year, but maybe next year. They brought in Paul Millsap, who's been a good underrated player his whole career, same as Wilson Chandler. So they'll fight for the playoff spot. I don't know if they'll make it, but they'll fight for it. And they're good. They're a good team. It's a good young core, and they just need one. They need one other guy, another stud in there to really take that next step.
Yeah, that's going to be hard unless they draft someone. I don't see a talented free agent going there.
Yeah, because like Jamal Murray, like he's good. Gary Harris is good. Jokic was throwing up stupid numbers last year. He's kind of calmed down this year, but like none of those guys are like superstar, all-star type guys. They're just good guys. So not knocking them, but they can get a guy in there that like if they were able to swing for like Paul George, like that would have been perfect. A guy like that to put in this team.
Yeah.
So who do you think, Brian? Anyone that'll challenge Golden State?
Like in the league or just in the West?
In the West.
Maybe Houston. It would have to be Houston. That's the only team I can see. I wanted to say OKC, but I need to see more because right now, they're just by right now. So
yeah, it's not
if
working.
They all click, then I think they could be a threat. But then like looking at Houston again, they're more or less the same team as last year, right? Just minus Dwight Howard and plus Chris Paul. So maybe when it gets down to it, when it gets to the playoff, it's going to be a different story. Yeah, I don't know. I guess right now I really don't see any team NBA really can stop them. I mean the Warriors they lost 3 games. I thought they would lose more than that, but they're winning games. So even the way they're playing, I listen to the radio here, and they're always like panicking, like how bad they're playing. But they're 11-3,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I know. I know a couple of teams are bad matchups for them, like the Pelicans and the Grizzlies,
yeah,
just because they have those huge monsters on those teams. Uh, and they might lose a game or two to those guys during the year, but if they have to go against them for 7 game series, I don't see it's a problem.
yeah.
What about the Spurs if once Kawhi comes back?
No, I don't see it. Like, this is still the same team, right?
Yeah,
unless
yeah.
Mark like just goes crazy and balls out this time, I really don't see it. So no.
So Golden State back in the finals. I still think Cleveland ends up there just because of LeBron.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a good showing between Cleveland and Boston. It'll be a good battle.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think next year will be different. It'll be a lot harder to tell what's going to happen. Like, I think there'll be a shakeup, and LeBron will have another year under his belt. So things might change in the East next year. Like Milwaukee's getting better.
yeah,
Boston's getting a lot better. So
and they still have that pick. They still have the Nets pick to where they can end up with the number 1 pick again.
right.
Yeah, Pistons are good. The Sixers can, they're growing. The Sixers' potential just looks like unlimited.
Yeah.
Like we really don't know how good these guys can really be in a year or two.
Yeah.
I think they'll be the big threat. I think them and Boston are pretty much the future.
Yep. Yeah, the Sixers are more like we'll probably see it pan out in like 3 years. Boston probably in the next year. We should start seeing it.
Yeah, if they had Gordon Hayward, they could have been this year, but losing him that's a big blow.
Right.
So that's what's going on in the NBA right now. Like you said, it's only about 15 games in, so it's still a long way to go. It's still a little early, a little early to make predictions. Right now we got the same usual suspects going all the way. So we'll see. I mean, any injury can happen, open things up, and who knows? Some of these teams can get better along the way. So we'll see what happens. So far it's been a good year. I'm looking forward to it. A lot of these new teams that came together was making it pretty exciting. I will make one prediction, and that's the Bulls will hit 15 games. I'll say that. I'll be bold.
Yeah. Man, that's really low.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. We'll get more than that. I think the record is like 14.
Bulls franchise, the lowest is 14.
I think. Yeah. I think that was the '99 season. After the post Jordan, post Phil Jackson, I think it's like 14 games.
Man.
Yeah, it's really bad. And we set the record that year for lowest points scored in a game. It was like 42. It was hard being a Bulls fan in the late 90s.
Well, you had that pretty much that entire decade to enjoy it. So
Yeah, and then honestly, if you look at it, we weren't bad for that long. I think I want to say 03 or 04 we made it right back to the playoffs, and then we didn't miss the playoffs until 2008 when we got Rose, and then we didn't make the playoffs until like 2 years ago.
yeah,
So we've been solid since then. So this is the first time where we've been like really bad since that '99 squad. So can't really complain too much. The only thing I complain about is how we were so close with Derek, the Derek Tibbs teams. We were right there. We were like, oh man, so close.
well, LeBron got in the way.
Yeah,
right?
some dude named LeBron had to ruin it. That one year, we played against them in the conference finals, and then the next year is when Derek blew his knee out, and then that was it. After that,
Yeah.
I mean, we were so close. Those are good teams, man. Derek and Noah and Boozer and Dang. Tibbs is the coach. Like those were good teams. I love those teams, but Freaking LeBron.
Well, it's a karma, right? From all the people that Jordan screwed over from winning
Yeah,
championships.
Charles and Ewing and
Yeah,
Reggie Miller.
Miller.
Yep, they didn't get one. Malone Malone and Stockton.
Yeah.
So I guess we just got to eat it for a while. But yeah, so that's it for our basketball podcast. If you got anything else to throw in, Brian?
Yeah, we talked about a few days ago how we should do one on video games since we both play, and I don't think we have any podcasts on video games at all. So.
Not since our E3.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's long. That was what, June?
Yeah, and we got a PSX coming up too, so we can talk about that too.
Yeah, we got some, and the year's gone. It's gone on long enough that there's been enough games that we played that we can give a good review of the year. I'm a PlayStation guy. Brian's a PlayStation guy, but he also has the Switch and got the Xbox. So
yeah, so I should start sharing more pictures on Instagram of like the games that I have to decide on which to play. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we do one next week or whenever the next one is, I can kind of talk about Call of Duty. I just haven't played it yet. And are you gonna get Battlefront 2 this weekend?
I think I'm gonna wait till Black Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, so a few games came out, and around recently, I picked up Evil Within 2, and then I didn't even think about it really. I went, oh, dude, Black Friday's in 2 weeks, why didn't I just wait? So after that, I kind of just put a hold. Like you said, the Horizon DLC came out, so I'm just gonna wait another week and then see what kind of deals I can get. But I do want to pick up Battlefront and Call of Duty and that DLC, so I'll wait till next Friday.
Yeah, so we can have more stuff to talk about.
Yeah, so stay tuned for our video game rundown, 2017 video game rundown. But yeah, that's it for us, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.